Native Land Pod is a production of iHeart Radio in partnership with Reasoned Choice Media.
Welcome home, everybody. This is Angela Rye with Tiffany Cross and Andrew Gillum. Today, we're doing a MiniPod, and we are talking about Terrence Howard on his hustle and flow. The hustle was trying not to pay $900 in taxes.
$900.
What did I say? $900? $900,000 in taxes, damn near $1 million. And the flow was, I kind of like this part. He said, you know what? I don't think as black people who are descendants of slaves, we should have to pay this shit. I agree with this.
I'm not mad at it either.
I agree with this part. But good luck with him staying out of jail. We was just talking about jail.
That's the thing. The IRS really just wants their money. Like for people
No matter
who
what.
end up the people who end up going to jail, it is really like a double middle finger to them, where it's like, I'm just not going to pay you. But I think the larger question of when you consider the wealth that black people created for this country, from the rice to the sugarcane to the cotton, we made this here country a superpower.
Yes.
And the South was its wealthiest region because that is where most of the enslaved were working. And we have never been repaid. We've never had any reparations. We've never seen the benefit of any of that work. As Angela coined the phrase, we built this joint for free. So, on the surface, this sounds like, a kind of silly thing from Terrence Howard. But when you get into it, this brother is making a legitimate point.
Yeah.
I don't know how we would make this happen, but I would be completely down for some sort of policy that says, yes, you are exempt from paying taxes.
We would have liked to hear Joe Biden say in the State of the Union address that he's going to give black people an evergreen tax credit where we never have to pay taxes.
I will say that he would not win re-election with that message.
That would be the nail in the coffin.
What about Joe? What about Donald Trump?
Did you see what we just did?
Yeah, you guys just did a thing.
The thing we said we don't like doing.
The whisper.
We just eliminated our imagination.
Yes.
Yeah.
We know them too well.
No, we came down on the side of practical and political and politically reasonable.
Pragmatism.
Because we know the other side too well.
Because we know the other side too well, but should knowing the other side and their objection be enough to stop the demand? And Terrence Howard says, no. You may think that we're past this, but I'm still hanging on to the 40 acres and a mule. And since y'all didn't come to pass with that, now the land seems to be taken up, or it's bad land, or it's good land that you gave to black folks when you thought it was bad land, and now you're coming back to retake it.
They're doing
Hello,
that too.
Miami.
Yeah.
But I will say, I just. What happened to homeboy Wesley Snipes? Did he go to jail?
He went to jail.
I'm so glad you bring this up. Go, because I got some on this. Go.
I don't know. I just don't want to.
He went to prison.
He did. And here's the thing. That's what I was just about to ask. I was literally sitting here like, I can only think of tax evasion cases where black people are criminally prosecuted. I can't think of no white folks. Can y'all?
Honestly, it could be because I don't pay that much attention. Like when something happens with Wesley Snipes or Terrence Howard, like it lands in my feed, I see it.
Donald Trump didn't pay no damn taxes.
How about that?
That's a really good
just
point.
pulled up this
That's
piece
a fact.
that says tax evasion by millionaires and billionaires tops $150 billion a year, says IRS chief. And I am curious to know how many of those tax evaders get criminally prosecuted, get their wages garnished, and ever have to do time in prison. I can only think of black folks. I might be wrong. I'd like to be proven wrong.
Do we wonder why the top 1% could, by any reasonable, rational notion, be sitting in the Donald Trump camp today? Well, you got to conclude that Donald Trump and the Republicans inside Congress.
I love that he said Donald Trump. Donald Trump.
That's his name. Donald
You a tramp?
Slip of the tramp tongue. But he and the Republicans in Congress have stood up against the IRS, have threatened to zero fund it, have threatened to slow walk the money that was approved during COVID, where Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats said, well, we're going to go after the cheats and those who don't pay their taxes. They enumerated this.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump said, no, we need to get rid of the IRS. And he was not by himself. He had the majority of the Republican leadership in the House who said, no, I'm only pulling back the layer, y'all, because you asked the question, and it's the right question to be asked, that when we make the statement that, and a principal wanted that nah, you owe me, I don't owe you. Nobody is over here explaining from members of Congress or from Donald Trump why it is that they hold the position that they hold and why those folks are never ever held accountable. We shouldn't be surprised.
It's not surprising, but honestly, if we could just take it out of the minutia of politics for a second and the practicality of what it looks like for us. You and I have talked about this.
Yeah.
Our money in our industry is sometimes very clunky. And so sometimes you will get a big lump sum check.
Sure.
And I know what we talked about in our podcast this week about the payroll we inherit when you get money, where mama needs, brother needs, nephew needs, sister needs, cousin needs, auntie needs, and you're paying out everybody. So if I get a lump sum check, let's just say to keep it for easy figures, $100,000, and technically maybe I owe the government $45,000 of that, because once you get to states, and sometimes our work is in different states. So if I've spoken in Indianapolis, if I've spoken in Los Angeles, if I've spoken in Miami, I owe all those places taxes from when I spoke. I don't know. All I'm getting is this big lump sum. And I'm looking at my bills and everything. And guess what I'm saying? To hell with the IRS. I have these bills to pay right now. Right. And that is what is in front of me right now. That's the most urgent thing. I literally did not know. Well, how do I just call up the IRS and say, hey, I got this check. I might owe y'all some money. I don't know how to do it. Yeah. Like, there is no guidelines to that. And so in the entertainment industry, particularly with Terrence Howard, I can see how you're getting these big lump sums of money and you don't know really how to manage it. That's why some people have business managers, but sometimes business managers is an expense you cannot afford.
That's an accountant or CPA for folks who aren't in the same industry.
You. Yeah, thank you. But I can't technically afford a business manager right now. You know, somebody that's telling me how to spend my money, but those are the people who can step in for you. So I actually feel really bad for entertainers who find themselves in that space. I feel bad for me who has found myself in that space.
I just think if we have to pay ours and they're on our neck about getting their money from us, then be that on the neck of the folks who are underpaying their taxes or not paying taxes at all. Donald Trump,
some of them haven't filed since 2017. This new bureau is kind of going after them.
Or you've done some BS like Donald Trump, where you have valued your business at one level to get financing from a bank. Yep. But when it comes to them paying on that taxes, great big wealth you built, all of a sudden it's worth nothing.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is, what's good for the goose ought to be good for the gander. Until Terrence Howard is able to help us move this country forward around reparations in association with taxation.
Yeah.
Pay your taxes.
But we understand the frustration.
But we understand the heat. We understand it. But to the government, go after the folks who ain't. Spend some time, energy, effort going after the folks who are
billionaires and the trillionaires. Like, I also just think from a practical standpoint, like if we were just talking about efficiency, like, is it really worth it just to have the example of someone who has a big name to collect this small check when you have people who are not paying millions and billions of dollars in taxes? Like, this doesn't even seem like a smart strategy.
Yeah.
If the government is owed money, go where you can get the biggest hit. It's not $900,000.
Warren Buffett say it. He said, my secretary should not be paying a greater percentage of her earnings in taxes than I pay in mine.
Yeah.
This is Warren Buffett, right? Yeah. And thankfully, he's made the giving pledge. But if y'all just charge them more, right? I think that's fair. I think
some of them haven't filed since 2017.
But some of them have defrauded the system.
That's true too.
They ain't gonna pay, and nobody is going to go after them. Terrence Howard is an exception here. I'm not calling him a millionaire, but if he is a millionaire, he's an exception within the millionaire class that the taxing authority is going after him trying to collect, because they didn't do that to Donald Trump, and I'll rest my case on him.
And those wealthy people have been dealing with these kind of things for decades. Like, some of us, this is very new to us, you know, like we're just in the past 5-10 years just figuring this out, just navigating this. Donald Trump's father was a millionaire. You know, a lot of these people come from family money. They have family attorneys. They have a crew of people around them.
And they have a whole bunch of tax law that has been developed
in their favor. Very true.
For
Very
them,
true.
so that when they pass it on, or they pass it on via stock and not in cash, that the rules are different. I mean, come on.
Every part of this system, is designed for us to trip up. And that's how they can
hide in plain sight. And so with this, like this...
And ascend to the presidency.
That's it. So the Inflation Reduction Act which was, of course, passed under the Biden administration, is how the IRS has taken on this new approach to, coming after the millionaires and billionaires who have not paid their taxes or have not filed since 2017. It says that $80 billion. The IRA increased the IRS budget by $80 billion over 10 years, and most of that is designed to support with enforcement of folks who haven't paid their taxes. So it's not just the folks who kind of can cut the corners. This is like for folks who actively haven't filed, like the Terrence Howards of the world. I'm interested to see, and I hope that it doesn't happen this way, but I'm interested to see if more of the people who are targeted look like us.
Yeah.
Angela, I don't have any hope that that bureau, one, will get the resources. I think that the Republicans, so long as they stay in a negotiating or power position, are going to continue to slow walk. That's why they said zero fund the IRS, and that's why they said to slow walk this money in their direction.
This bill passed in 2022. They have this money.
Guess what? Zelensky was supposed to get that money from Trump, wasn't he?
Well,
right when he
they
got in
already put out
office.
the releases saying that this is exactly what they're going to do.
And I'm telling you, don't hold your breath because I ain't holding mine.
I got a question. Well, as we close out, because this is our mini pod, so it's a quick topic, but I have a question for our viewers. I would like to hear you all weigh in. Should Black people have to pay taxes?
I like this question.
I want to hear what y'all have to say.
So
weigh in, drop a comment. We know your answer. We all got the same answer, but we want to hear from you guys.
Andrew might not. Andrew wants to.
I think people ought to pay their fair share.
Andrew
But I think if I have to pay my fair share, the wealthiest 1% should have to pay
Okay, let me
theirs.
ask you. Can we ask this a follow up to the listeners, and Andrew can answer first? What's the fair share? What percentage is a fair share to pay your
That
taxes?
40% really sucks.
Okay, what's the fair share?
Yeah,
how
what
much do you think you should pay?
Well, first of all, the fair share is what does it cost us to run the government of our choosing?
But should our fair share look
such
like
a
everyone else?
patriot.
Should there be, should it be adjusted? Is that some form of reparations? Like, okay, if you're in this tax bracket, if you are a descendant of the enslaved, then we will decrease your tax bracket
Guess
by
what?
50%,
If we were the wealthy
30%.
1%, they would have come up with that rule for us already.
I
You
wanna
damn straight.
know.
You
That's
damn
where you
straight.
ought to
We're
be.
in a
Well, our
debate, and
viewers will weigh in.
I'm asking you the question, sir. What
Yes,
is your
ma'am.
percentage that you want to pay?
I mean,
What had happened was, look at this
no,
here.
I'm just saying.
Look at this here, Tiff.
I feel in some ways overburdened by the current tax structure, largely
Yes.
because it squeezes those of us who are at the working middle
Mm-hmm.
to pay the lion's share of what it costs to operate the government.
What do you think is fair to pay?
Well, it's
10%?
It's arbitrary for me to say
5%,
that because I
1%.
don't know what would this system look like if everybody paid 30%.
Do you want to know what I want to pay?
I can guess, but sure, you can say it. I'm just saying, it doesn't. I was a local elected official, guys. I can't be like against taxation.
Yeah, I get it.
Taxation goes.
I get
Not
that
to
too.
mention,
I
my
get
kids
that
are in
too.
public school,
Yeah.
paid for by my taxes
Yeah.
that I pay on my house.
See, this is why I
So-
like this part, because you get to hear like what all gets covered.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Ambulances.
But what I can't tell you is
Police.
what all gets covered federally
Yeah.
because of what a messy mess, deliberately so, that system is. How many people don't have to pay taxes because they inherited their money or it was passed down through stock or stock? What do they do? What do they do now? They shred half the stock, the value of the stock, double it, and then you pass it on to your children, and your children don't pay on that, and then your children. You got generations, 5-6 generations of wealth, and nobody in those 5 or 6 generations had to do a thing for it.
Well, speaking
Yeah,
of
that's
children,
a good point.
You got to get home to your
Yes,
kids.
I do.
It's a
But
hard out
listen,
at 2
our
o'clock.
viewers, it's a simple, easy question. Should
Yes.
Black people, because these are internet comments, so we don't need your dissertation on, just a simple, easy question. Should Black people have to pay taxes? We want to hear from you. Weigh in.
As a form of reparations.
The yays
Yes.
or nays.
Andrew,
No,
you better
for-
get home to those babies.
I'm getting.
And
Angela,
Jay.
can we go eat?
Yes. We can
Okay.
go.
All right. Thanks
We
for
love
joining
y'all.
us for
Welcome
this
home. We don't know
See
how
you
many
soon.
days until the election. It's a mini pod. See y'all.
Native Land Pod is a production of iHeart Radio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. For more podcasts from iHeart Radio, visit iHeart Radio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.